Velez Mitchell with Jane Unchained. So delighted, honored, thrilled, over the moon to have Maggie Baird, the one and only. You have so many accomplishments. I would be here all day just listing the many TV shows you've done, your songs, what you've written, directed. I mean, you're multi-talented, and now you've used your genius to come up with this brilliant idea. Tell us all about Support and Feed, how you came up with it, and what it is doing now during this pandemic to help people and help the planet.
Oh, thank you for having me. Support and Feed was an idea when we were out. I was out on tour with my daughter, Billy, and son, Phineas, and we got sent home, as everyone did. And when I got home after a few days, I was talking to my family and I said, this is going to be so hard for so many people on so many levels. And one thing that's going to happen is all the small businesses, the restaurants are probably going to close. And because we're vegan and plant-based eaters, and I was like, those small family-owned restaurants are not going to survive this, possibly. And isn't that sad? Because so many people need food. What if we ordered food from restaurants and we sent it to people who needed it? So the first night I put a note on Facebook, actually. I said, who has ideas of where I could send some food? And I got lots of help. And I did. I sent some food from Sage Restaurant in Echo Park to the Midnight Mission. But as I did it, I thought, well, this is actually, there's a lot more to think about, than I had originally had in mind. So I called a couple of really good friends, Rose Forbes, who she's an event planner, and she's incredible. And she just said, I will help you with this. This is a great idea. And I called Justin Lubliner out. I just called people who I knew about restaurants more than I did. And they just jumped on, and we added this amazing woman, Jeanette, and we just assembled this incredible team. And everyone was so interested in the idea of helping people through keeping these restaurants afloat at the same time. So that was the basic idea. And how it worked was originally, we thought it was going to be so easy. We thought, well, we'll just set up a website and we'll connect restaurants. People will make donations. And then the food we'll coordinate where the food gets taken to the people who need it, to the homeless shelters and the women's shelters and children, et cetera. Well, the minute we got involved, we realized it was a major operation. And so we have an army of volunteers doing it. We've grown, we've changed, our mission has evolved, which we'll get into in a minute. But basically, now we are feeding people all over Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, places like the Boys and Girls Clubs, the women's centers, many, many small charities, and supporting many, many restaurants through the process.
And there is a photo of you wearing a mask. Good for you. I applaud that. Wish everybody in my neighborhood was doing that. And delivering food. And I know that your daughter, Billie Eilish, and your son, Phineas, and I'm huge fans. Phineas. Okay, Phineas. Are chipping in, which I think is absolutely extraordinary, that they are literally doing some of the physical work. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, they've been really supportive from the beginning, sharing their social media, which is always a big deal, and contributing financially and actually going on delivery. So they've been really supportive and amazing. Really, we could not have done it without them. We've grown so much, but their support and their helping us, of course, their name recognition helped us, attract people in the beginning. But Support and Feed has, come to stand on its own, but they have stood right there with us. So
now you have this brand new plant-based party, which sounds like a lot of fun. I personally need a party right now. I don't know about you, but this is getting a little old, I think, for everyone. Tell us about this incredible plant-based party that you're planning.
Well, one of the things about Support and Feed, we are feeding so many people in need, and in communities that often don't have access to fresh produce or healthy meals. So that's a major part of what we're doing. And the reason we're doing it through the restaurants is because, of course, restaurants are a huge part of every community, not just the fact that they serve us the food there, but they are staffs that are employed, and farmers and growers and pickers and truckers. There's a whole line of people that are involved in the restaurant industry, and they're so essential to our community. And since we can only sort of help the restaurants directly who are in our cities, this was a way that we could help people all over the country, all over the world. So not only the restaurants, but just everyone support eating a plant-based diet. So all we ask people to do is order a plant-based meal from a restaurant or make it themselves and post a photo of it to social media with hashtag plant-based party. And that helps us spread the word about plant-based eating. And also in this case, it unlocks a donation to us from Gardein, Pila, and Chow Now. And then that donation will go to us to help us feed families and children.
So basically on July 24th through the 26th coming up, you just want people to take a photograph of that's tomorrow,
Yeah,
food that they've made themselves or ordered in or picked up, and plant-based food, obviously, and tweet it with the tweet. Tell us the hashtag again.
It's hashtag plant-based party.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I understand that as a result of that, some corporations are going to do some major donations. Looking at your press release, my eyes popped at the number $40,000.
Yeah, $40,000. That donation is going to us and also to Reverb. Reverb is an incredible organization. I'm actually doing a cooking show with them later today. They're Quarantine Kitchen. But they're a great organization that we're very familiar with because they come on tour with us and they help make all the touring green. They are right on site teaching the fans and everyone in the audience about recycling, and we don't have any disposable bottles, etc. But they come on tour with us. They make our whole tour green, from our tour buses to our green rooms to the arena, and they do a lot of other work on the environment. So they are also benefiting from the donation from those sponsors.
And I would like to encourage everybody, please share out this video. This is the most important thing we can do right now, because truly it's our abuse of animals, whether in the wildlife trafficking trade or in the industrial animal agriculture system, that has brought on this pandemic. Remember, it was first spotted at a slaughter market, a wet market in China, but we have wet markets here in the United States, tons of them, and there's efforts to get them eliminated, because they are really breeding grounds for the kind of problems that we are all suffering from now. So share this out, please. And while you're sharing it out, I want to show you a video, because we're very honored that Jane Unchained, in conjunction with Inspired Entertainment, has put together a show on Amazon Prime called New Day, New Chef, because it's a new day. You might as well be a new chef. And we did a support and feed edition with Maggie Baird, which is just now coming out. And I want to give you a little peek at it, and then we can talk about that for a second.
Hi, I'm Maggie Baird. I am excited to welcome you to a very special season of New Day, New Chef. Over the next 8 episodes, you'll learn all about our organization, Support and Feed, and get to meet talented chefs who have forged some of the world's finest plant-based restaurants. Plus, get tips on how they make their delicious dishes. So stay tuned for some great food, top chefs, and you never know who just might drop in to say hi. It's a New Day, New Chef, Support and Feed edition.
Support and Feed gets food from vegan restaurants and delivers it to those in need. So we want to introduce you to the plant-based chefs who are whipping up those healthy and tasty dishes.
There's 1,000 other things that Maggie could be doing, but she stepped in to help the vegan entrepreneurs, and we got hit really, really hard. Support and Feed is at the top of my gratitude list, and being a part of it, and knowing and working with Maggie is just, it's out of this world.
Love ya.
And I want to say that Angela Means, who's a dear friend of mine and who runs Jackfruit Cafe, literally had tears in her eyes when I asked her about Support and Feed, because she was one of those. She's in Santa Monica, Smart Kitchen, and she was struggling. She called me when this thing first happened, because she had just opened a restaurant, and you really came to the rescue. Can you tell us about the reaction from the vegan restaurants, and how many vegan restaurants? I know it's New York, LA, Philadelphia. What's happening there?
Oh, wow. Yeah, the restaurants, Angela's so amazing. I love her. She's the hardest working person in LA. I mean, she's just unbelievable. Like I said, we're feeding the Boys and Girls Club this week. We're feeding five days a week for 5 weeks. And we have all of our restaurants in LA working so hard. And we're hoping to get that in Philly and New York. So, we're evolving. We are adding some restaurants as we can. We have a great, I don't know the number off the top of my head right now where we're at in each city, but you can find them all on our website. You can go to individual cities, and each city has a little bit of a different setup just because this crisis has hit everyone in a different way. So we had to kind of evolve to have we have volunteers in New York. We have people in Philly working so hard. So we have lots of restaurants. You can find them on our site. Go right to them and donate directly to them, and we will coordinate the deliveries. Or you can make a donation to our general fund. If you do it to our general fund, we will put it where it's needed. We even have people who specifically have launch programs like the one we're doing, the Boys and Girls Club, and other ones. So there's lots of room to be involved with any of our restaurants or just with our program in general. The great thing about Support and Feed, the great thing is that we're feeding so many people, and the reaction from the restaurant owners has been really incredible. I mean, some of them literally were about to close, and this lifted them up and got them through the really tough part. And as you know, the tough part comes and goes with this pandemic. One day they can serve people inside, and the next day they can't again, totally understandably. But this is a sustaining thing that we can offer to, the need for food is not going away. And the need for healthy, nutritious, delicious food, that's what people don't understand sometimes, is that, there are other programs to feed people, and a lot of those are doing great work. But we're really focusing on nutritious and delicious. And as Kim from the Boys and Girls Club says, enriches your soul, feeds your soul, not just your body. So you can support us in lots of different ways. I think I wandered off the question, but.
No, that's excellent. Frankly, I have a friend who's a senior citizen who's vegan and called me pretty panicked because there were groups distributing food and they kept sending her things like pastrami sandwiches, and she was in tears. And finally we got a friend who was connected to a vegan food group to go directly to her to give her that food. But maybe you could explain to people why that really is part of the problem. We have a pandemic that is a zoonotic disease that stems from our abuse of animals, and it jumped from animals to humans. We also have heart disease that prior to COVID-19 was killing 1 out of every 4 Americans, and still killing a lot of Americans. COVID-19 has obviously taken over in terms of the number of deaths. But we also have cancer. The World Health Organization has determined that processed meat is officially cancer-causing, red meat likely carcinogen. You have climate change, which animal agriculture is a huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. You have habitat destruction, certainly the main cause of habitat destruction, we see it in the Amazon, is clearing land for cattle grazing. That leads to wildlife extinction. And the overall issue of human world hunger, we're 7.8 billion humans killing 70 billion plus land animals every year who are doing most of the eating. 70+% of all soy is fed to farm animals. How do we make the connection? I just sort of summarized some of the main reasons why we as a human culture need to go plant-based.
Well, you hit on really all of them. I mean, there's so many reasons. I mean, you can't even, you just did list them, but, I didn't say this in the beginning, which I should have, but one of the most important things that we were trying to do with Support and Feed is help the planet, because we do know that eating a plant-based diet is one of the most important things you can do. It's automatic and super easy to do. So we are actually getting the statistics together of how much water we've already saved, land we've already saved, etc. When you compare what we would have served if that meal had contained animal products to not containing animal products. So, one of the things we're trying to do is affect for your friend and for the planet and every possible reason to try to get the other programs that feed people to realize that they need to include at least to 50%. Of course, we'd all love it to be 100%, but if it was at least 50% vegan food, plant-based food as the entire meal, that would make a major impact on the climate crisis. And that's something we are hoping that we are already doing. We do find that because we exist, people have a little bit more awareness, like, oh yeah. And the thing about vegan food is everyone can eat vegan food. It's a funny thing. I've been in places a couple of times. We had incredible vegan catering on the last tour from a company called Eat Your Heart Out. Incredible. And no one, everyone was just blown away. But a couple times before, we would have vegan catering, which was really good. But I'd hear like a crew member or something say, oh gosh, it's all vegan. There's nothing I can eat here. I was like, no, yeah. The thing about vegan food is everyone can eat vegan food, so if the programs that feed people, sadly, Jane, I'm afraid to say that I think a lot of the USA standards of what they're allowed to feed in the programs really discourage having fully plant-based meals, which is really sad. We're really working with some archaic systems of understanding what is a healthy meal. So we've got to break that down so that these programs realize that you can serve a plant-based meal to people, not only be serving them a nutritious meal, but one of the most nutritious meals you can serve them. So that is definitely a large part of Support and Feed. And also trying to educate people along the way. We're trying to serve people in need and help them learn as they go, like what plant-based food is, how it tastes, it's delicious, and then ultimately helping people understand the health benefits of it.
And I mentioned a lot of reasons to go plant-based. I left one out, perhaps the most important. These guys, these beautiful beings who don't deserve to die, and they're killing us, sadly, as we are killing them. And the average person, I think, eats approximately 10,000 animals if they're not plant-based. Tell us about your vegan journey. And I know your whole family, Billy and Phineas, are all vegan.
Yeah,
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I have a funny story because I grew up in a small town in Colorado, and my father's a wonderful person. He was a hunter and fisherman, and my brothers and I all grew up not wanting to eat it. But I think partly because we saw it, we had a real connection to it, and we were like, not eating that. So even in a small town, I wanted to be a vegetarian. I didn't know what a vegan was at the time. And so I remember us begging my parents, please, I want to be a vegetarian. And so my brothers and I all became vegetarians as teenagers. And it was really pretty solely at that point, just the animals. We just didn't want to eat animals. And it was very organic for us. And interestingly, I don't think my brothers or I have ever wavered on that at all. And then as time went on, of course, when you get into the world, you start to realize, at first, I didn't realize the abuses in the egg and the dairy industry. I didn't really realize them. And then as I learned about them, of course, you realize, well, that's part of the cruelty factor, part of the environmental destruction. And to be honest, my mother died of a heart attack at 57. So I also realized I had a really strong genetic issue. So all of those led together. And then I just gradually was like, that I got to go all the way. And I think I've been a vegan for over 12 years, and my family joined. My kids were always, Billy and Phineas, we raised them vegetarian from the beginning. And then they gradually went vegan as well on their own decision. And interestingly, all the reasons are there. And the thing that keeps me vegan, that means I would never, ever stray, it's quite easy for me, actually, it's just knowing what you know. When you know the truth about the processing of animals and the cruelty of it and the environmental impact, it's pretty easy to stick with it. Add into that the fact that everyone in our family had some kind of an issue that we didn't realize until we went vegan was cured, right? So each one of our members, and I'm not going to go into everyone's medical history, but everyone had something that went away when we stopped having dairy. So that, and eggs. So that was kind of amazing. And, like I said, I didn't really do it I did it for ethical reasons. Mm-hmm. Health benefits were tremendous, which because my kids grew up vegetarian and because I've been such a long-term vegetarian, I don't maybe notice the health benefits because I've always been that way. But becoming a vegan was a big change. I was like, oh, wow. Who knew that arthritis in my hands had to do with that? So, yeah, that's our journey. And we're so lucky now, Jane, because there's so much vegan food in the world. It's so much easier than when I was a kid. And, when I was a teenager and you were a vegetarian, you'd go to someone's house and apologize and, eat the salad. And now you can choose which vegan restaurant you want to go to.
Absolutely. And I used to apologize too until I listened to Dr. Melanie Joy, who said, we all need to stop apologizing for being right. And then as soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, she's right. So we are talking to the one and only Maggie Baird, who has this incredible campaign. Supportandfeed.com is where you go to get involved. We are so honored to be participating through our show, New Day, New Chef Support and Feed edition, which you can see on Amazon Prime, free for Amazon Prime members. And it's a very fun show. We feature some of the restaurants that are making the food that is going to those in need. So as we wrap up here, tell us about who the primary recipients are in terms of, I think a lot of people who aren't hungry themselves are not aware of how much hunger there is out there, even children.
Well, I'm going to use a statistic that may be more extreme right now, but 1 in 5 children and 1 in 4 in some cities is going hungry this summer. 30 million children are going hungry. We all know why. It's obvious. And with schools staying closed, which of course they need to, is even worse. The problem for children and families is devastating right now. And Support and Feed is only a small part of that. Obviously, people need tremendous amounts of food and support. But the one thing we can offer them is a very nutritious, very delicious meal that is soul nourishing. It's wonderful to receive a box of produce and groceries. It's incredible. But, we've had families that are very, very moved by the fact that they have, food that they recognize from Veggie Grill, or that they have a full meal. I mean, I picked up Angela's meals yesterday, drove them myself to one of the places we serve, the Boys and Girls Clubs. That meal was amazing. Black-eyed peas and cornbread and plantains and rice and green. I mean, it was really, really delicious. So you just cannot underestimate the need right now for food, for caring, for support. And what like I say, what we're trying to offer them is this really healthy moment in their day where they get a delicious meal. Children, when they're hungry, they can't learn, they can't play. It's hard to control your moods. The food that we feed people has a major effect. And if you're feeding people food that is not enough, first of all, and maybe not very nutritious, you're not really helping with that problem. So wow, it's a major problem. It really moves me. It's our major focus right now with Support and Feed is feeding children and families. We have lots of other charities we serve as well, and really illuminating those organizations themselves, the good work that these organizations in New York and Philly and Los Angeles are doing for their constituents. We're just trying to supplement that with really healthy meals.
And one of the things I noticed on your website is that if a city does want to get involved, there's a whole how-to that they can basically follow your process to start doing similar.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we would love to be able to help everywhere, but we're all volunteer organization. We are a 501c3 under an organization called In the Family Way, but we're all volunteers, and it's a tremendous amount of work. So we can't really be in every city because there's a lot of coordinating that goes on. But if you want to just follow how we did it, and people have done that, actually, they've even taken our name, which is fine in this case, but there's like Support and Feed in other countries. But yeah, people have done it in their own cities. Even if you have 1 or 2 restaurants that you can coordinate with, helping to get some donations, maybe find someone in your town that wants to sponsor it too. taking the individual donations from people contributing to the restaurants is a great way to start. And then finding other people who maybe want to contribute larger amounts and help you do a consistent program. But we've got pictures on our Facebook of people who have started in other towns and are doing it themselves. We've even had calls from people in Alaska, and to be honest, places where there's no vegan restaurant in their town, so they're like, well, there's one restaurant that has one vegan meal. So there's a lot of ways that they can do it, but they can find a lot of information on our website. And then of course, donating to Support and Feed in general will help children, in all different ways, and including things like the plant-based party, which will hopefully help lots of people in communities.
And so as we wrap up, the plant-based party, you take a picture of yourself with a plant-based meal, one that you either made or you ordered in or picked up, and the hashtag, once again, so it's in everybody's mind,
hashtag plant-based party. And if you don't want to be in the picture, just take a picture of your food, because I know people sometimes just like to see food pictures. But hashtag plant-based party, post it on social media. All those hashtags will help us unlock a donation so we can feed a lot more children.
This is absolutely incredible. I do support and feed in many ways. I do order in, and when I do order in, I will check off, along with ordering a burrito, let's say, from Sage, and then you can just add a little donation to Support and Feed. It's really so easy. You've made it so easy to help end hunger in America, feed people the food they really need. Thank you so much, Maggie Baird. The amount of work you are doing right now is just extraordinary. It's a brilliant campaign, and we're so excited to be a part of it, and we love you. Mwah.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our volunteers, everyone who's working on it. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, I can't even begin to touch on how great people have been. So thank you, and thank you for your cooking show, and thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, and we'll update it as it goes.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.